From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon and welcome to your MTN Noon News for this Wednesday. I'm Hailey, Monaco. Let's get right to our top story. We begin with a town still in cleanup mode after a severe storm rocked the Yellowstone County community of Shepard. The damage is hard to miss. Shattered windows, shredded siding, and roofs stripped bare. But for one family with 2 young children, the storm didn't just rattle their home. It turned their world completely upside down. MTN's Charlie Kleps begins our team coverage and has the story of survival behind the wreckage.
In a matter of moments,
God, it happened so quick.
dark clouds covered the sky.
I didn't really know what was going to happen.
And as uncertainty filled Jordan Dalton's head, dangerously strong winds picked up speed.
I was just more scared, my daughter was with me, and last thing I want to happen is anything to my little girl.
It was at that moment that Dalton knew she needed to flee.
The wind started coming up pretty bad, so we rushed down to my grandma's house.
It was there that she took this video. What she didn't know is that it would be the last time she saw her house standing upright.
Not even 2 minutes later, the whole house just completely went.
This is the aftermath of that storm, where this home was ripped off of its foundation here and rolled 20 feet down the property. A devastating scene that feels impossible for Jordan and her husband Joe to stomach.
Put my heart and soul into this house. Every penny I had for the last 3 years.
Their home, which was nearing completion after more than 2 years of construction, now flipped upside down, crushing one of their vehicles and destroying nearly all of their belongings inside.
We went so much into debt just to get this house livable. And now it's just all gone.
On Tuesday, the Daltons were left salvaging what they could.
Move that!
Searching through the scraps of what they hoped would be their forever home.
It's like opening a fresh wound. Every time you see something that you cherished completely demolished, it's just ripping off the scab all over again.
A nightmare reality for this family and many others.
Everybody lost stuff, and everybody's homes got damaged.
Now hoping for help on their emotional and uncertain road to recovery.
It's hard to ask people for help in a situation like this because everybody's going through something.
In Shepard, Charlie Kleps, MTN News.
And that is far from the only destruction left behind. Nearly every property in the Shepard area took a hit. MTN's Hannah Pettiferi shows us just how terrifying this storm was to witness firsthand.
There was no need to watch television Monday night for Jesse Parman. Instead, a reality show was unfolding right in front of him. Not on a screen.
It had blown the windows out.
But right behind his couch.
I was having golf balls and ping pong balls bouncing off the couch, and it shredded all the Venetian blinds.
Monday's storm shattered glass as giant hailstones pummeled through windows like baseballs.
There was standing water in the whole house, and ice.
And outside, even more destruction.
All these trees, these were beautiful trees, but the bark's gone. Not just the leaves, they're denuded. My neighbor called and he said, "Where do we start?" And I go, "I don't know where to start."
Jesse is not the only one dealing with this tragedy. Right down the road from me, the Supers are also facing the devastation.
I've never seen the likes of it in my life. I'm almost 80 years old.
Chuck and Luann Super are also busy cleaning up shattered glass, as 4 of their windows were shattered by the storm.
It was almost like a vacuum had broke, Kind of like, when you pop a cork on a champagne bottle or something. Just boom.
I don't even know how to describe what it sounded like. It was just loud and scary.
Living in Shepard for more than 4 decades, this was the worst they've ever experienced.
This one takes cake.
And not just them.
I've lived in Montana my whole life, and I've never seen anything like this.
But also the Ferguson family, all but destroyed by the relentless hail.
Their window down there is completely shattered out. They had a big drift of hail inside their living room. Their floor's all flooded. All their skylights are broke out.
Shepard is a community now cleaning up.
There's a lot of people over here that are suffering.
From this costly and unforgettable storm, the likes of which they never hoped to experience again.
Everybody out here pretty much went through the same thing, some worse, I'm sure, and some better.
In Shepard, Hannah Pettiferry, MTN News.
Well, I hope everybody's having a wonderful middle of the week. Happy Wednesday, everybody, and just really nice conditions all around. Let's take a look around the state. Great shot there in Whitefish with some blue skies. Looking great right now in our state capital there in Helena. A few puffy clouds there in Butte, but looking pretty good. Also looking fantastic in Billings. Look at that. A lot of sunshine across the state down in the northern parts of Wyoming. Temperatures in the 70s and 80s. A few spots in the 60s. Some of us going to be flirting with 90 today. We may actually get there, but a better chance we could see that tomorrow. Quiet today, but we do have more unsettled weather heading our way. Some areas could see some severe storms tomorrow all the way through Saturday. We'll take a look with the main forecast coming up.
Now time for today's leading look as we follow some of the other stories making headlines across Montana. A 13-year-old Belgrade boy was killed early Sunday morning in a single vehicle crash. According to the Montana Highway Patrol, the car the boy was driving westbound crossed the center lane on the frontage road, overcorrected, and went off the right side of the road. The vehicle rolled multiple times. The boy was transported to Bozeman Health Deaconess and later died from injuries sustained in the crash. MHP reports that the boy was not wearing a seatbelt and alcohol, drugs, and speed are suspected as factors in the crash. A case that started 3 years ago in Big Fork ended Tuesday in a Kalispell courtroom with a sentencing. Derek Jackson will most likely spend the rest of his life behind bars for the death of Stanley Grotberg. MTN's Derek Joseph reports.
A man was sentenced to 100 years in Montana State Prison Tuesday for shooting and killing a man in Big Fork in 2022 after a violent dispute.
Count 2, deliberate homicide. The defendant is sentenced to the Montana State Prison for a period of 80 years with no time suspended.
In October of 2022, Derek Jackson was charged with 2 counts of deliberate homicide after a dispute that left his mother, Tricia DeMotts, and her boyfriend, Stanley Grotberg, dead in their Big Fork home. Jackson was found guilty in the murder of Grotberg, but not guilty for DeMotts by a jury back in April. Before his Tuesday sentencing, the court heard a victim impact statement from the son of Grotberg.
I believe because of the impact it's had on our lives, and it will be for the rest of our lives, he should receive the maximum sentence.
Later, the court heard a character witness testimony from Jackson's father, who believed his son acted in self-defense.
I believe 100% he did not shoot his mom. He loved his mom. There's no doubt about it. I believe he took the gun from Stan after he shot his mom and shot Stan when he was coming after him.
Jackson received 100 years in federal prison after the homicide charge, with an additional 10 years for tampering with evidence and another 10 years for use of a firearm. Reporting in Kalispell, I'm Derek Joseph, MTN News.
This year, the Montana legislature made a big change to the state law that prohibits smoking in indoor facilities. That change expanded the law to include vaping. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian has more on the new law and what impact supporters believe it could have.
20 years ago, the Montana legislature passed the Clean Indoor Air Act, which said that indoor public spaces and workplaces had to be smoke-free. That was an adjustment for businesses at the time, and now they'll have to adjust again, as a new state law says that smoke-free also means vape-free.
We were excited to see the amount of support from legislators. I think that this is something they have been hearing about in their communities, with people coming to them, principals and superintendents saying that they need help.
Senate Bill 390 changes the definition of smoking in the Clean Indoor Air Act, so it includes using an electronic smoking device like an e-cigarette or vape pen. It passed the House and Senate with bipartisan support, and Governor Greg Gianforte signed it into law last month. Jackie Simmons with the American Heart Association says advocates believe one of the biggest benefits will be in pushing back on what they call a youth vaping epidemic. A 2023 statewide survey found just under half of Montana high school students have reported using a vaping product.
E-cigarette use was already prohibited in Montana schools, but we think that this sends a clear message to the public and to young adults and teenagers that e-cigarettes are not safe. Unfortunately, we think that because they've been excluded from the act, people have mistakenly thought that this was a safe form of nicotine use, but what we know is nicotine in every form is addictive and is dangerous.
SB 390 came with an immediate effective date, and it's already being enforced. The Montana Department of Public Health and Human Services says any businesses found in violation will get an educational letter before they're penalized. While the law is going to mean changes, Simmons believes Montanans have gotten used to the Clean Indoor Air Act, and they'll get used to this adjustment too.
At the time, smoking was so normal that people couldn't really realize the benefits of having smoke-free restaurants, smoke-free bars. Now I think most of us can't imagine going back into a restaurant that smelled like cigarette smoke.
About 10 city and county governments in Montana had already taken local action to prohibit e-cigarettes in indoor spaces. In Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.